Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Both Justin and Neil pointed this story out to me. And it's interesting because this is a problem that's been going around for a while. When a new hot car comes out, dealerships will often just mark them up and say, well, there's a premium because it's a brand new hot car, and you got to pay way over a sticker if you want this car. And my friend said he actually went into a dealership and was looking at one. He goes, I'll buy one right now. And the guy goes, well, here's how much extra you have to pay because it's hot right now. And my friend said, oh, I'll come back later when it's not hot. So the Drive.com reports this, but it's widely reported that Ford wiped out the $10,000 dealer markup on Mustang Mach-E after Twitter protests. So enough people were upset by this that they took to Twitter, and the Twitter storm caused Ford to step in and tell dealers to stop doing this. Dealers usually get their way when it comes to market adjustments, that's what they call that, on hot new cars, just not this time. James Gilboy wrote the article. And of course, he says, nothing puts dollar signs in the eyes of a car dealer quite like a hyped up, hot new model. Limited availability sometimes allows dealers to name their price, often at the expense and to the distaste of consumers. But in the case of the Ford Mustang Mach-E, the blue oval needs its long-awaited e-pony car out on the roads and worming its way into EV adopters' minds, so they'll consider something other than a Tesla. So that's why when Ford found out an Illinois dealer was letting a Mach-E First Edition sit in their showroom with a $10,000 markup, it told them to stop that. And this is the thing. Ford builds the product and they sell it to a dealer. Dealers are independently owned. That's one thing they always say. So they sell the product to the dealer, wholesale. The dealer then sells it to the public, retail. And so they always have a manufacturer's suggested retail price, the MSRP. The S is a suggestion. But the problem, of course, is that they do want these cars sold, not sitting. So the Mach-E at the center of this debate is being sold by a dealership in Schaumburg outside of Chicago, where a prospective buyer was reportedly allowed to sit in the car but not test drive it. This led the buyer to share a photo of the Mach-E's window sticker complete with a $10,000 markup where it was tweeted by the Drive contributor and EV expert John Volker. So it actually said right on it, $10,000 market adjustment. That's a euphemism if there ever was one. We're ripping you off. How? It's a market adjustment. So digging up the Mach-E's window sticker from the dealer site shows it to be an unremarkable example, aside from its first edition package, with no extended range and no real justification for the markup, or for that matter, the dealer's protective treatment of it. As a photo of the door jamb shows, it was built back in November. It's been sitting unsold for a few months now. The dealer's greed didn't go unnoticed by Ford. Volker's tweet popped up on the radar of Ford North America's product communications manager Mike Levine, who presumably made a phone call or two before declaring the dealer's markup was in the dirt. True to Levine's word, the dealership's online listing for the car now reads $59,400 rather than $69,400, which was shown on a window sticker that people could see. And it was a handwritten notation, market adjustment, $10,000. Dealers typically have the freedom to decide their own prices. Like I said, they're suggested retail prices, not carved in stone retail prices. But in a hot and still warming EV market, the Mach-E's rollout is too crucial for Ford to allow that to happen. This EV, after all, is the car meant to show that Ford is on equal or better footing than segment pioneer Tesla, never mind other legacy car makers such as Volkswagen and so on. If it comes down to the choice between short-term profit margins and a larger share of the EV market of tomorrow, it's clear that Ford wants the bigger market share, and they want to get there faster. So the big question is to see if they'll actually sell it for the lower price, because it's always possible that when all the brouhaha happened, they lowered the price, but still, they got to let someone buy it for that price. So we'll see what happens, and I'm sure they'll do a follow-up on this, because that is the question. The fact they wouldn't let some guy test drive it is just crazy, but I'm sure they said, well, if you like it, are you willing to pay that price? And that's one of the games that I've always hated car dealerships doing, is that if you are looking at something, thinking about buying it, and you go, can I test drive it? It's a reasonable question to ask of a vehicle that you're looking at and thinking about buying. And for them to say, well, are you willing to pay the markup if you decide to buy it? Well, I'm not really willing to tell you what I'm willing to pay in the future based on a test drive I haven't taken yet. And now I'm going to give you an example, but it's one of my favorite examples because it has nothing to do with cars, but it was a product. And I was going on vacation a couple years back, and I have a big old Nikon DSLR, big Nikon digital camera. In fact, I used to shoot my videos with it, but I now use a different camera. And so I was going on vacation, and I knew that Nikon actually made a handle that you could attach to the camera that held an extra battery. And so that would double the length of time that the batteries would last before having to charge. And I was going to be traveling a bit, and I thought this might come in handy. And I was walking through a mall, and I saw a Nikon dealer, Nikon authorized camera shop. And I walk in, and I'm looking at the counter, and I see the accessory underneath the counter. And so I motion for the guy, and I say, hey, I have a question for you. I go, how much is that? Because it didn't have a price tag on it. And he named me a price that was double what it was listed online as with the suggested retail price. The number he gave me is double. And I looked at the guy, and I go, really? That seems kind of high. And the guy goes, no, that's the suggested retail. And I said, well, no, I know that's not the case. I go, you may have marked up more than that, but suggested retail, and that's half of what you're telling me. And the guy goes, no, it's not. So I pull up my phone, type it in, pull it up, and I go, isn't that it right there? And the guy goes, I don't think that's the exact same one, but no, I assure you the suggested retail, and this is what I just told you. And I said, okay, well, can I see it? And he goes, are you going to buy it? And I said, can I see it first? And he goes, are you going to buy it? And I go, well, I'm thinking about buying it. I have a camera that would go on, but I'm not going to commit to buying it until I see it. And if you're familiar with Nikon, all their packaging is these opaque gold boxes that say Nikon on the outside. You couldn't even see the product. For all I knew, the box is empty. I said, I'm not going to commit to buying something until you show it to me. And the guy goes, I'm not pulling out of the case until you promise to buy it. Guess where I was 30 seconds later? Walking down the main thoroughfare of the mall, leaving that guy's store. But there are crazy people out there trying to sell stuff. And that kind of tactic might work on some people. And I don't doubt that the dealership in Schaumburg very well could put a $10,000 market adjustment on this sticker and eventually get someone to come in and buy it. Eventually. But as I'm sure you might guess, Ford right now has a factory someplace building these cars. There's more of them coming off the assembly line right now. And this is a problem. I encounter this from time to time where someone will say, well, Steve, I went car shopping, and I found the car I like, and the guy told me it was the only one available. Really? You think Van Gogh is making these in his garage and he makes 3 a year? What? There's an assembly line making these cars. I mean, now I understand it's possible it's at the end of the year they've actually stopped production and there's a particularly weird combination they're not going to make any more of. But generally speaking, the idea that you need to get this car in red, there's a factory someplace cranking them out in red. And I've had people say that. They say, Steve, well, how would I know otherwise? I say, it's real simple. Call a different dealership and say, I'm looking for this car in red. Do you have one in stock? And they say, no. Can you go into inventory and see if you can find one in the network someplace you can deal or trade for? And watch how quickly they come back. There's 7 of them. There's 12 of them. Which one do you want? And that's more often than not the case. They'll tell you it's the last one. So this dealership might only have one on their showroom. They might. And to them, it might be a rare car. And to them, they might think it's entitled to a market adjustment of $10,000. But Ford would much rather have them sell this car and get another one, and then sell that car and get another one. And this is a volume business. It ought to be. It ought to be. The idea that you go into a Ford dealership in Schaumburg, Illinois, and you see this car sitting there, and there's salespeople making deals left and right, and they're selling all kinds of cars, and this one car ain't selling because it's got a $10,000 market adjustment on it. You can see why that would annoy Ford, And so I've mentioned before, I am convinced, this is a personal opinion of mine, so don't tell me if you think I'm wrong any more than you should tell me if you think I'm right. It's just a personal opinion of mine. I am convinced that in my lifetime, I'm going to see the dealership model go away. I'm going to see the dealership model go away, which means that not only Tesla, not only the startups, but I am convinced that the legacy car companies, the big threes, as well as the Hondas, the Toyotas, the Kias, and so on, will be selling cars direct to consumers in America. I think it's going to happen in my lifetime. Now, they've got big lobbying interests that are going to get in their way, but what's going to happen somewhere down the road is that people like Tesla will be able to sell direct to consumers, and the manufacturers are going to go, wait, that means that we're actually splitting the profits with a dealership. We don't have to when our competitor is selling direct to consumers, which gives them better margins. Now, I know some people, last time I said this, got upset, and they said, Steve, but the manufacturers need the dealerships to do service. Oh, I didn't say dealerships are going to disappear entirely. I'm saying that the manufacturers will be allowed to sell direct to consumers. And that portion of the dealership model is going to disappear. Because right now, dealerships in America have a monopoly on new car sales for most car companies. Meaning that if you want to buy a Ford Mach-E in America, you got to go to a Ford dealer. You want to go buy a brand new Chrysler product, you got to go to a Chrysler dealer. You want to buy a Tesla? Contact Tesla and buy a car. They'll sell them directly to you. So when the manufacturer sees a dealership getting in their way, it ain't helping them any. It ain't helping Ford. It ain't helping the dealership either. So TheDrive.com wrote it. James Gilboy actually wrote it. TheDrive.com published it. Justin and Neil both sent it to me. Thanks a lot. Ford wipes out $10,000 dealer markup on Mustang Mach-E after a Twitter protest. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. The mistake you make is trying to figure it out.